California Commercial Driver Handbook Audio Edition. Current as of May 2017, right from the Department of Motor Vehicles website. Section 2.6. Controlling your speed. Driving too fast is a major cause of fatal accidents. You must adjust your speed depending on driving conditions. These include traction, curves, visibility, traffic, and hills. Now, stopping distance. Perception distance plus reaction distance plus braking distance equals your total stopping distance. Perception distance. The distance your vehicle travels in ideal conditions from the time your eyes see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. Keep in mind certain mental and physical conditions can affect your perception distance. It can be affected greatly depending on visibility and the hazard itself. The average perception time for an alert driver is 1 3/4 seconds, so almost 2 seconds. So at 55 miles per hour, this accounts for 142 feet traveled. Reaction distance. The distance you will continue to travel in ideal conditions before you physically hit the brakes, in response to a hazard seen ahead. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 second to 1 second. At 55 miles per hour, this accounts for 61 feet traveled. Braking distance. The distance your vehicle will travel in ideal conditions while you are braking. At 55 miles per hour on dry pavement with good brakes, it takes about 216 feet to stop. Your total stopping distance. The total minimum distance your vehicle has traveled in ideal conditions with everything considered, including perception distance, reaction distance, and braking distance, until you can bring your vehicle to a complete stop. At 55 miles per hour, your vehicle will travel a minimum of 419 feet. Look at this illustration. The effect of speed on stopping distance. The faster you drive, the greater the impact or striking power of your vehicle. When you double your speed from 20 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour, the impact is 4 times greater. The braking distance is also 4 times longer. Triple the speed from 20 to 60 miles per hour, and the impact of braking distance is 9 times greater. So at 60 miles per hour, your stopping distance is greater than the length of a football field. Increase the speed to 80 miles per hour, and the impact and braking distance are 16 times greater than at 20 miles per hour. High speeds greatly increase the severity of accidents and stopping distance. By slowing down, you can reduce braking distance. The effect of vehicle weight on stopping distance. The heavier the vehicle, the more work the brakes must do to stop it, and the more heat they absorb. The brakes, tires, springs, and shock absorbers on heavy vehicles are desired to work best when the vehicle is fully loaded. Empty trucks require greater stopping distance, believe it or not, because an empty vehicle has less traction. Control and stopping requirements. The service brake must hold the vehicle or combination vehicle stationary on any grade on which it is operated under all conditions of loading or unloading. The service brakes of every motor vehicle or combination of vehicles must be capable of stopping from an initial speed of 20 miles per hour as follows, maximum stopping distance in feet. So a passenger vehicle, it has 25 MSD or maximum stopping distance. Single motor vehicle with a manufacturer's gross vehicle weight of less than 10,000 pounds has a 30 feet maximum stopping distance. A single motor vehicle with a manufacturer's gross vehicle weight of 10,000 pounds or more has a 40-foot maximum stopping distance. Now, a combination of vehicles consisting of a passenger vehicle or any motor vehicle with a manufacturer's gross vehicle weight of 10,000 pounds in combination with any trailer, semi-trailer, or trailer coach, 40 feet maximum stopping distance. All other combinations of vehicles have a 50-foot maximum stopping distance. Matching speed to the road surface. You cannot steer or brake a vehicle unless you have traction. Traction is friction between the tires and the road. There are some road conditions that reduce traction and call for lower speeds. Slippery surfaces. It will take longer to stop, and it will be harder to turn without skidding when the road is slippery. Wet roads can double stopping distance. You must turn slower to be able to stop in the same distance as on a dry road. Reduce speed by about 1/3. Example, if you're going 55, reduce to 35. on a wet road. Or packed snow, reduce speed by half or more. If the surface is icy, reduce speed to a crawl and stop driving as soon as you can safely do so. Identifying slippery surfaces. Sometimes it is hard to know if the road is slippery. Here are some signs of slippery roads. You may see shaded areas or bridges. Bridges can sometimes be slippery. Shady parts of the road will remain icy and slippery long after other areas have melted. And the bridges, when the temperature drops, bridges will freeze before the road will. Be especially careful when the temperature is close to around 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Melting ice. Slight melting ice will make ice wet. Wet ice is more slipperier than ice that is not wet. Black ice. Black ice is a thin layer that is clear enough that you can see the road underneath of it. It makes the road look wet. Anytime the temperature is below freezing and the road looks wet, watch out for black ice. Vehicle icing. An easy way to check for ice is to open the window and feel the front of the mirror, support, or antenna. If there is ice on these, the road surface is probably starting to ice up. Just after rain begins, right after it starts to rain, the water mixes with the oil left on the road by vehicles. This makes the road very slippery. If the rain continues, it will wash the oil away. Hydroplaning. In some weather, water or slush collects on the road. When this happens, your vehicle can hydroplane. It is like water skiing. The tires lose their contact with the road and have little or no traction. You may not be able to steer or brake. You can regain control by releasing the accelerator and pushing on the clutch. This will slow your vehicle and let the wheels turn freely. If the vehicle is hydroplaning, do not use the brakes to slow down. If the drive wheels start to skid, push in the clutch and let them turn freely. It does not take a lot of water to cause a hydroplane. Hydroplaning can occur at speeds as low as 30 miles an hour if there is a lot of water. Now, hydroplaning is more likely if tire pressure is low or the tread is worn. The grooves in the tire carry away the water. If the grooves are not deep, they do not work well. Road surfaces where water can collect can create conditions that cause a vehicle to hydroplane. Watch for clear reflections, tire splashes, and raindrops on the road. These are indications of standing water. Let's talk about the speed and the curves. Drivers must adjust their speed for curves in the road. If you take a curve too fast, two things can happen. The tires can lose their traction and continue straight ahead, so you skid off the road. Or the tires may keep their traction and the vehicle rolls over. Tests have shown that trucks with a high center of gravity can roll over at the posted speed limit. Slow to a safe speed before you enter a curve. Braking in a curve is dangerous because it is easier to lock the wheels and cause a skid. Slow down is needed. Do not ever exceed the posted speed limit for the curve. Be in a gear that will let you accelerate slightly in the curve. This will help you keep control. Speed and distance ahead. You should always be able to stop within the distance you can see ahead. Fog, rain, or other conditions may require that you slow down to be able to stop in a distance you can see. At night, you cannot see as far as low beams as you can with high beams. Slow down when you must use low beams. Let's talk about the speed and traffic flow. When you are driving in heavy traffic, the safest speed is the speed of other vehicles. Vehicles going the same direction at the same speed are not likely to run into one another. In California, speed limits are lower for trucks and buses than for cars. It can vary as much as 15 miles per hour. Use extra caution when you change lanes or pass on these roadways. Drive at the speed of the traffic. If you cannot without going at an illegal or unsafe speed, keep a safe following distance. The main reason drivers exceed speed limits are to save time. Anyone trying to drive faster than the speed of traffic will not be able to save much time. The risks involved are not worth it. If you go faster than the speed of other traffic, you will have to keep passing other vehicles. This increases the chance of an accident, and it is more tiring. Fatigue increases the chances of an accident. Going with the flow of traffic is safer and easier. Let's talk about speed on the downgrades, or going down a hill. Your vehicle's speed will increase on downgrades because of gravity. Your most important objective is to select and maintain a speed that is not too fast for the total weight of the vehicle, the length of the grade, the steepness of the grade, the road conditions, and the weather. If a speed limit is posted, or there is a sign indicating what's the maximum speed, never exceed that speed. Also, look for a heed warning signs indicating the length and steepness of the grade. You must use the braking effect of the engine as the principal way of controlling your speed going downhill. The braking effect of the engine is greatest when it is near the governed RPMs and the transmission is in a lower gear. Save your brakes so you will be able to slow down or stop as required by road and traffic conditions. Shift your transmission to a low gear before starting down the grade and use the proper braking technique. Please listen carefully for the information on going down long, steep downgrades safely in this playlist titled Mountain Driving. Let's talk about roadway work zones. Speeding traffic is the #1 cause of injury and death in roadway work zones. Observe the posted speed limits at all times when approaching and driving through a work zone. Watch your speedometer and do not allow your speed to creep up as you drive through long sections of road construction. Decrease your speed for adverse weather or road conditions. Decrease your speed even further when a worker is close to the roadway. Let's talk about overtaking or following another vehicle. You may not overtake and pass another vehicle which is moving at less than 20 miles per hour on a grade unless you can pass that vehicle at least 10 miles per hour faster than it is traveling, and pass can be completed within a quarter mile. You must not follow the vehicle listed below at any closer than 300 feet. The rule does not apply during overtaking and passing, when there are 2 or more lanes for traffic in each direction or in a business or residential district. A motor truck or truck tractor having 3 or more axles, you can't follow closer than 300 feet. Any motor truck or tractor towing any other vehicle, or a passenger vehicle or bus towing any other vehicle, or a school bus transporting a school pupil, or a farm labor vehicle when transporting passengers, or a vehicle transporting explosives, or a trailer bus. When large vehicles are being driven in caravan on the open highway, at least 100 feet must be left between them to allow vehicles to overtake and pass them. It's time to test your knowledge. I'm going to say a few questions, and you need to have the answer in your mind. How far ahead does the handbook say you should look? What are 2 main things to look for ahead of you? What's your most important way to see the sides and rear of your vehicle? What does communicating mean in safe driving? Where should your reflectors be placed when stopped on a divided highway? What 3 things add up to total stopping distance? If you go twice as fast, will your stopping distance increase by 2 or 4 times? Empty trucks have the best braking. True or false? What is hydroplaning? What is black ice? These questions may be on your test. If you cannot answer them all, please listen to sections 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6 again. 2.7. Managing your space. You need space all around your vehicle to be a safe driver. When things go wrong, space gives you time to think and take action. You need to manage space to have space available when something goes wrong. While this is true for all drivers, it is very important for large vehicles. They take up more space and require more space for stopping and turning. The space ahead. All of the space around your vehicle, the space you are driving into, that is most important. The need for space ahead. You need space ahead in case you must suddenly stop. According to accident reports, the vehicle that trucks and buses most often run into is the one in front of them. The most frequent cause is following too closely. Remember, if the vehicle ahead of you is smaller than yours, it can probably stop faster than you can. You may crash if you are following too closely. How much space? How much space should you keep in front of you? One good rule says you need at least 1 second for each 10 feet of your vehicle length at speeds at below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, you must add 1 second for safety. For example, if you are driving at a 40-foot vehicle, you should leave 4 seconds between you and the vehicle ahead. Now in a 60-foot rig, you need 6 seconds. And that's over 40 miles per hour, you need 5 seconds for a 40-foot vehicle and 7 seconds for a 60-foot vehicle. To know how much space you have, wait until the vehicle ahead of you passes a shadow on the road or pavement. Then count off the seconds like this: 1 1001, 1 1002, and so on, until you reach the same spot. Compare your count with a rule for 1 second for every 10 feet of length. If you are driving a 40-foot truck and only counted up to 2 seconds, you are too close. Drop back a little and count again until you have 4 seconds of following distance, or 5 seconds if you're going over 40. After a little patience, you will know how far back you should be. Remember to add 1 second for speeds above 40 miles per hour. Also, remember that when a road is slippery, you need more space to stop. Space behind. You cannot stop others from following too closely, but there are things you can do to make it safer. Stay to the right. Heavy vehicles are often tailgated when they cannot keep up with the speed of traffic. This often happens when you are going uphill. If a heavy load is slowing you down, stay in the right lane if you can. Going uphill, you should not pass another slow vehicle unless you can get around quickly and safely. Now, dealing with tailgaters. In a large vehicle, it is often hard to see whether a vehicle is close behind you. You may be tailgated when you are traveling slowly. Drivers trapped behind slow vehicles often follow closely. In bad weather, many car drivers follow large vehicles closely during bad weather, especially when it is hard to see the road ahead. If you find yourself being tailgated, here are some things you can do to reduce the chances of an accident. Avoid quick changes. If you have to slow down or turn, signal early and reduce speed very gradually. Increase your following distance. Opening up room in front of you will help you avoid having to make sudden speed or direction changes. It also makes it easier for the tailgater to get around you. Do not speed up. It is safer to be tailgated at a low speed than a high speed. Avoid tricks. Do not turn on your tail lights or flash your brake lights. Follow the suggestions here. Space to the sides. Let's talk about space to the sides. Commercial vehicles are often wide and take up most of the lane. Safe drivers will manage what little space they have. You can do this by keeping your vehicle centered in your lane and avoid driving alongside others. Staying centered in a lane. You need to keep your vehicle centered in the lane to keep safe clearance on either side. If your vehicle is wide, you have little room to spare. Traveling next to others. There are 2 dangers in traveling alongside other vehicles. Another driver may change lanes suddenly and turn into you. You may be trapped when you need to change lanes. Find an open spot where you are not near other traffic. When traffic is heavy, it may be hard to find an open spot. If you must travel near other vehicles, try to keep as much space as possible between you and them. Also, drop back or pull forward so that you are sure the other driver can see you. Strong winds. Strong winds make it difficult to stay in your lane. The problem is usually worse for lighter vehicles. This problem can be especially bad coming out of tunnels. Do not drive alongside others if you can avoid it. Let's talk about space overhead. Hitting overhead objects is a danger. Make sure you always had overhead clearance. Do not assume that the heights posted at the bridges and overpasses are correct. Repaving or packed snow may have reduced the clearance since the heights were posted. The weight of cargo van changes its height. An empty van is higher than a loaded one. Clearing under a bridge when your vehicle was loaded does not mean it will clear when you are empty. If you doubt you have safe space to pass under an object, go slowly. If you are not sure you can make it, take another route. Warnings are often posted on low bridges or underpasses, but sometimes they are not. Some roads can cause a vehicle to tilt. There can be a problem clearing objects along the edge of the road, such as signs, trees, bridges, and supports. Where this is a problem, drive a little closer to the center of the road. Before you back into an area, get out and check for overhanging objects such as branches or electrical wires. It is easy to miss seeing them while you are backing. Also, check for other hazards at the same time. Let's talk about space below. Many drivers forget about the space under their vehicle. This space can be very small when a vehicle is heavy loaded. This is often a problem on dirt roads and in unpaved yards. Do not take a chance on getting hung up. Drainage channels across roads can cause the end of some vehicles to drag. Cross these areas very carefully. Railroad tracks can also cause problems, particularly when pulling trailers with a low underneath clearance. Do not take a chance on getting hung up halfway across. Let's talk about space you need for turns. The space around a truck or bus is important in turns. Large vehicles can hit other vehicles or objects during turns because of wide turning and off-tracking. Right-hand turns. Here are some rules to help you prevent right-hand turn accidents. Turn slowly to give yourself and others more time to avoid problems. If you are driving a truck or bus that cannot make the right turn without swinging into another lane, turn wide as you complete the turn. Keep the rear of your vehicle close to the curb. This will stop other drivers from passing you on the right. Do not turn wide to the left as you start the turn. A following driver may think you are turning left and try to pass you on the right. You may crash into the other vehicle as you complete the turn. If you must cross into the oncoming lane to make a turn, watch out for vehicles coming toward you. Give them room to go by or to stop. However, do not back up for them, because you might hit somebody behind you. Look at this figure on your screen. Left turns. On a left turn, make sure you have reached the center of the intersection before you start the left turn. If you turn too soon, the left side of your vehicle may hit another vehicle because of off-tracking. If there are two turning lanes, always take the right turn lane. Do not start in the inside lane because you may have to swing right to make the turn. Drivers on your left can be more readily seen. Look at this illustration. Let's talk about space needed to cross or enter traffic. Be aware of the size and weight of your vehicle when you cross or enter traffic. Here are some important things to keep in mind. Because of slow acceleration and the space large vehicles require, you may need a much larger gap to enter traffic than you would in a normal car. Acceleration varies with the load. Allow more room if your vehicle is heavily loaded. Before you start across a road, make sure you can get all the way across before traffic reaches you. Let's talk about seeing hazards. Importance of seeing a hazard. Well, first, what is a hazard? A hazard is a road condition or other road user, like a motorcyclist, bicyclist, pedestrian, that is possibly dangerous to you. For example, a car in front of you is headed toward the freeway exit. The brake lights come on and they begin braking hard. This could mean the driver is uncertain about taking the off-ramp. They may suddenly return to the highway. This car is a hazard. If the driver of the car cuts in front of you, it is no longer just a hazard, it's an emergency. Seeing hazards lets you be prepared. You will have more time to act if you see hazards before they become emergencies. In the example above, you might make a lane change or slow down to prevent an accident if the car suddenly cuts in front of you. Seeing this hazard gives you time to check your mirrors and signal a lane change. Being prepared reduces this danger. A driver who did not see the hazard until a slow car pulled back on the highway in front of them would have to do something very suddenly. Sudden braking or quick lane change is more likely to lead to an accident. Now, how do you learn to see a hazard? There are often clues to help you see hazards. The more you drive, the better you can learn to see hazards. This section will talk about hazards that you should be aware of. Let's talk about hazardous roads. Move over laws. The incident of law enforcement officers, emergency medical service, fire department personnel, and people working on the road being struck while performing duties at the roadside are increasing at a frightening pace. Moreover, laws have been enacted which require drivers to slow and change lanes when approaching a roadside incident to lessen the problem. Signs are posted on roadways in states that have such laws. When approaching an authorized emergency vehicle stopped on the roadside or work zone, you should proceed with caution by slowing and yielding the right-of-way by changing into a lane not next to that of the authorized emergency vehicle or work zone if safety and traffic conditions permit. If a lane change is unsafe, slow down and proceed with caution while maintaining a safe speed for traffic conditions. In California, failing to obey the move over law is an infraction, punishable by a $50 fine. Slow down and be very careful. If you see any of the following road hazards. If you see a work zone, slow down and be careful. When people are working on the road, it's a hazard. There may be narrower lanes, sharp turns, or uneven surfaces. Other drivers are often distracted and drive unsafely. Workers in construction vehicles may get in the way. Drive slowly and carefully near work zones. Use your four-way emergency flashers or brake lights to warn drivers behind you. Also be careful around drop-offs. Sometimes the pavement drops off sharply near the edge of the road. Driving too near the edge can tilt your vehicle toward the side of the road. This can cause the top of your vehicle to hit roadside objects like signs or tree limbs. Also, it can be hard to steer as you cross and drop off, going off the road or coming back on. Be careful around foreign objects. Things that have fallen on the road can be hazardous. They can be a danger to your tires and wheel rims. They can cause damage to electrical and brake lines. They can be caught between dual tires and cause severe damage. Some obstacles that appear to be harmless can be very dangerous. For example, cardboard boxes may be empty, but they may also contain some solid or heavy material capable of causing damage. The same is true of paper and cloth sacks. It is important to remain alert for objects of all sorts, so you can see them early enough to avoid them without making sudden, unsafe moves. Be careful around off-ramps or on-ramps. Freeway and turnpike exits can be particularly dangerous for commercial vehicles. Off-ramps and on-ramps often have speed limit signs posted. Remember, these speeds may be safe for automobiles, but not be safe for larger vehicles or heavily loaded vehicles. Exits that go downhill and turn at the same time can be especially dangerous. The downgrade makes it difficult to reduce speed. Braking and turning at the same time can be a dangerous practice. Make sure you're going slowly enough before you get to the curve part of the ramp. Now let's talk about drivers who are hazards. In order to protect yourself and others, you must know when other drivers may do something hazardous. Some clues to this type of hazard are discussed below. Blocked vision. People who cannot see others are a very dangerous hazard. Be alert for drivers whose vision is blocked, like vans, loaded station wagons, and cars with rear windows who are blocked vision are examples. Rental trucks should be watched carefully. Their drivers are often not used to the limited vision they have to the sides and rears of their truck. In winter, vehicles with frosted, ice-covered, or snow-covered windows are hazards. Vehicles may be partly hidden by blind intersections or alleys. If you only can see the rear of the front end of the vehicle but not the driver, then he or she cannot see you. Be alert because he or she may back out or enter into your lane. Always be prepared to stop. Delivery trucks can present a hazard. Packages or vehicle doors often block the driver's vision. Drivers of step van, postal vehicles, and local delivery vehicles are often in a hurry and may suddenly step out of their vehicle or drive their vehicle into the traffic lane. Parked vehicles can be hazards. People may start to get out of them, or they may suddenly start up and drive into your way. Watch for movement inside the vehicle or movement of the vehicle itself that shows people are inside. Watch for brake lights or backup lights, exhaust, and other clues that the driver is about to move. Be careful of a stopped bus. Passengers may cross in front of you or behind you, and they often cannot see you. Pedestrians, bicyclists can also be hazards. Like walkers, joggers, and bicyclists may be on the road with their back to the traffic so they cannot see you. Sometimes they wear portable stereos with headsets so they can't even hear you. This can be dangerous. On rainy days, pedestrians may not see you because of hats or umbrellas. They may be hurrying out of the rain and may not pay attention to the traffic. Distractions. People who are distracted are hazards. Watch for where they're looking. If they are looking elsewhere, they cannot see you. Be alert even when they are looking at you. They may believe that they have the right-of-way. Children. Children tend to act quickly without checking traffic. Children playing with one another may not look for traffic and are a serious hazard. Talkers. Talkers are hazards. Drivers or pedestrians talking to one another may not be paying close attention to the traffic. Workers. Workers are a hazard. People working on or near roadways are a hazard. The work creates a distraction for other drivers, and the workers themselves may not see you. Ice cream trucks are a hazard. Someone selling ice cream is a hazard. Children may be nearby and may not see you. Disabled vehicles. Disabled vehicles are a hazard. Drivers changing a tire or fixing an engine often do not pay attention to the danger roadway traffic is to them. They are often careless. Jacked up wheels or raised hoods are a clue to this hazard. Accidents. Accidents are a hazard. People involved in the accident may not look for traffic. Passing drivers tend to look at the accident. People often run across the road without looking. Vehicles may slow or stop suddenly. And shoppers. Shoppers are a hazard. People in and around shopping areas are often not watching traffic because they are looking for stores or looking into store windows. And confused drivers. They're a hazard. Confused drivers often change direction suddenly to stop without warning. Confusion is common near freeway or turnpike interchanges and major intersections. Tourists unfamiliar with the area can be a hazard. Now, clues to tourists include car-top luggage and out-of-state license plates. Unexpected actions, like stopping in the middle of a block, changing lanes for no apparent reason, backup lights suddenly going on, are all clues of confusion. Hesitation is another clue, including driving very slowly, using brakes often, or stopping in the middle of the intersection. You may also see drivers who are looking at street signs, maps, or house numbers. These drivers may not be paying attention to you. They're confused. Slow drivers. Motorists who fail to maintain normal speeds are hazards. Seeing slow-moving vehicles early can prevent an accident. Some vehicles, by their nature, are slow, and seeing them is a hazard. Like mopeds, farm machinery, construction machinery, tractors, etc. Some of these will have the slow-moving vehicle emblem to warn you, which is a red triangle with an orange center. Vehicles displaying this emblem are not designed to attain a speed greater than 25 miles per hour. Now, drivers signaling a turn may be a hazard. Drivers signaling a turn may slow more than expected or stop. If they are making a turn tight into an alley or driveway, they may go very slowly. If pedestrians or other vehicles block them, they may have to stop on the roadway. Vehicles turning left may have to stop for oncoming vehicles. Drivers in a hurry are a hazard. Drivers in a hurry. Drivers may feel your commercial vehicle is preventing them from getting where they want to go on time. Such drivers may pass you without a safe gap in the oncoming traffic, cutting too close in front of you. Drivers entering the road may pull in front of you in order to avoid being stuck behind you, causing you to brake. Be aware of this and watch for drivers who are in a hurry. Impaired drivers. They're a hazard. Impaired drivers. Drivers who are sleepy, have had too much to drink, or are on drugs, or who are ill. They are hazards. Now, some clues for impaired drivers are weaving across the road or drifting from one side to another, leaving the road, dropping off into the shoulder, stopping at the wrong time, stopping at a green light, or waiting too long to stop, an open window in cold weather, or speeding up or slowing down suddenly, driving too fast or too slow. Be alert of drunk drivers and sleepy drivers late at night. Driver body movement as a clue. Drivers look in the direction they are going to turn. You may sometimes get a clue from a driver's head and body movements that a driver may be going to make a turn, even though the turn signals are not on. Drivers making over-the-shoulder checks may be going to change lanes. These clues are most easily seen in motorcyclists and bicyclists. Watch other road users and try to tell whether they might be some kind of a hazard. Conflicts. Conflicts are a hazard. You are in a conflict when you have to change speed or direction to avoid hitting someone. Conflicts occur at intersections where vehicles meet or merge, and where there are needed lane changes, such as the end of a lane forcing a move to another lane of traffic. Other situations include slowing, moving, or stalled traffic in a traffic lane and accident scenes. Watch for other drivers who are in conflict because they are a hazard to you. When they reach this conflict, they might do something that will put them in conflict with you. Always have a plan. This is important. Always have a plan. You should always be looking for hazards. Continue to learn to see hazards on the road. However, don't forget why you are looking for hazards. They may turn into emergencies. That's why you're looking for hazards, because they may turn into emergencies. You look for hazards to have time to plan a way out of an emergency. When you see a hazard, think about the emergency that could develop and figure out what you would do. Always be prepared to take action based on your plans. In this way, you will be prepared. Defensive drivers who improve their own safety as well as the safety of all road users. Are you ready to test your knowledge? Time for a pop quiz. I'll ask a few questions, and you need to have the answer in your mind. If you don't know the answer, you need to re-listen to section 2.7 and 2.8. Here's the question number 1. How do you find out how many seconds of following distance space that you have? Number 2. If you are driving a 30-foot vehicle at 55 miles per hour, how many seconds of following distance should you allow? Number 3. You should decrease your following distance if somebody is following you too closely. Is this true or false? Number 4. If you swing wide to the left before turning right, another driver may pass you on the right. Is this true or false? Number 5. What is a hazard? Number 6. Why make emergency plans when you see a hazard? Okay, these questions now, they may be on your DMV test. If you cannot answer them, re-listen to sections 2.7 and 2.8. We have now completed section 2.8. We will continue in the next video with section 2.9 and beyond. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.